Good morning. The train has just pulled into the station and the sun is just getting out of the wagon. Good morning, everybody. You can see that intense morning cloud here alongside on the eastern side of the lake. So that's why I announced that the sun was arriving late. It also gave me time to check out this space here if there's Wi-Fi connection, as we still wait for a solution to the data challenge. Data transmission is not allowed at the moment, and I don't know why. But here we have this nice spot here. We're over here at Harbor Plaza. Our temporary residents that have been here now for more than 5 months have put up this little tent here for the children and also for the families. Sometimes they have events here. A couple of months ago, one of the families had a bereavement in the family, and then, as is customary here, they spend 7 days mourning, and all kinds of friends come over that time period and spend time with them, remembering the deceased and sharing experiences. And that's a great consolation to those who have such the pain of bereavement. And the community brings that support, that company, that consolation. Yesterday we had a German TV operation here, the whole day filming, and quite a few groups also came through. Today in the readings we have a tough story. Of the golden calf. You can see how we're really jumping all around the whole of scriptures, because during Lenten period we're paying attention to very concrete themes rather than reading the book systematically straight through, which we do during the ordinary time of the year, so-called ordinary time. And then we have these specialized times, in particular Lent, preparing for Easter. And that has its own dynamic, its own specific purpose, to prepare our hearts and souls to not miss the great event of salvation history, of Palm Sunday, the Last Supper. You have all that golden light there on the water, and the sun is completely hidden, so there's some little gap over there where that sunlight is hitting down onto the lake. In that darkness of Good Friday, there was so much light, but we could miss it. And it's not just about simply being conscious of it and understanding what's going on, but it's about bringing our lives into sync with the transforming event of history. How that Friday, which was so terrible, that humanity turned against our Creator, who came to redeem us, and we crucified him. And this is an extraordinary drama. This is the drama of all dramas. And then the resurrection, which we all deeply long for. to emerge from the travail this world endures, generation after generation, country after country, people after people, across continents and countries and townships, and through the family home and through the human heart. So the golden calf then is not just a miserable thing some wretches did in the desert after being freed generously, miraculously, powerfully, attributing to the golden calf their salvation, but it's actually our story. We have received such a gift of life, and we neglect the source of the life. Behind every gift is a giver. Can you imagine what would happen with a group of children, and one children scored the goal, but the credit isn't given to the child and was given to somebody else that just walked in? Oh, look at the one who scored the goal. No, I scored the goal. And we can live in a lie. We can attribute to people accomplishments that they were gifted with and not produced. And that's really our whole of life, the whole gift of life. And then we glorify things. And the gold standard is still there, you know. What listens, what buys stuff, what displays power, what gives pleasure to the eyes and to every other sense. And we put our heart and store in that. And we're made for relationships, and then we wonder why our heart is empty. Having been made for relationships, and not just for the relationships of our siblings and our first cousins and our second cousins and spouse, and parents, grandparents, with the absolute relationship with God. Our heart is made for God and will never be satisfied until it rests in Him. But the golden calf is more manageable. It's a work of our hands. It's not the unmanageable God that can escape our control, that's way beyond and transcends our control. That we live by trust and gratitude and friendships, and not with money and power and walls and guns. The golden calf of appearance. People can dress up very nice, can have very special kind of photographs made, and their heart is seething with the hues of corruption and hatreds and antagonisms, rancor. We need true redemption. And the chosen people over time are very conscious of this. Remember, we had a commentary of Daniel when he was in exile there last week. We had him a couple of times actually during Lent, because he has a very clear consciousness of where the responsibility lies. And also the bankruptcy of our possibility to fix it. And then the experience of the golden calf becomes the new revelation of mercy. And Moses struggles through his prayer, discovering this God of mercy. Narrated in a very human way of a drama where Moses trying to convince God. Moses didn't change God. Moses discovered God's mercy. and open the hearts of humanity through that prayer to appeal to God, to a logic, kind of a human logic, but actually entering into God's logic. The Lord said to Moses, I see how stiff-necked this people is. And Moses implored the Lord, and he says, why, O Lord, should your wrath blaze up against your own people, whom you brought out of Egypt? Relent in punishing your people. Remember your servants Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, also called Israel, is your name, and how you swore to them by your own self, saying, I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. And all this land that I promised I will give your descendants. But then Psalm 106, in that very characteristic way of the Psalms, the honesty of the Psalms. Our fathers made a calf in Horeb and adored a molten image. They exchanged their glory for the image of a grass-eating bullock. And we have lots of grass-eating bullocks up here, and mostly cows actually. I don't see them today, but you know where you've seen them here very often. I'm scanning the whole mountain. I don't see any right now. But imagine switching God out for a grass-eating bullock. One thing that really impressed me very much was at the Chicago Museum. I think it's the Chicago Museum. The exact name of it I mightn't have right. But they have some of these Egyptian bulls on display from ancient times. Amazing, amazing sculptures, creations of metal. And they're huge. They're just like displaying mega power bulls, you know. And to think that could be God, that was made by their own hands, from some metal that they got out of the ground and purified. Give me a break. And then it goes on to say, they forgot the God who has saved them, who has done great deeds in Egypt, wondrous deeds in the land of Ham, terrible things at the Red Sea. So this psalm reworks that whole text from Exodus, Psalm 106. Actually, it's a very long psalm. If you want to have a coffee and you want to hear all the sins of the chosen people, just read that psalm. And it's always a psalm then of trusting in God's mercy. Remember us, O Lord, as you favor your people. And that's the discovery of God's graciousness. Like parents reflect when they're dealing with a child that's very cantankerous and rebellious, the 4-year-old's rebellions or whatever age they are. And the parent has that patience because they're going to bring that child forward. And that child might end up being the president of the country, you know, or a major researcher or scientist, or just a good guy, you know, that's good in the neighborhood and doing very good things. And we go through these periods of intense rebellion as a 4-year-old and a 14-year-old and a 40-year-old and a 64-year-old, and an 84-year-old can be rebellious and cantankerous and critical and mean. But hopefully not, because most 84-year-olds have enough wisdom that they realize they probably don't have another 84 years, so it's better to live in peace and accept reality, and there are some limitations in health, and we start learning the lessons that we're not God and we can't make gods with our hands. Here comes the sun again. It's all right. And then as we now approach Good Friday doesn't come upon us as a total surprise, because the tension rises between the authorities and Jesus. And in John's Gospel, that's expressed very much with very heated argument, very high-powered argument. And we're still there in chapter 5, where after the healing of the paralyzed man in the pools of Bethesda, and all the hostility that arose through that miracle, why he did it on the Sabbath. And then when Jesus was answering, he was revealing his person little by little, and they didn't want that. They considered that was totally blasphemous. And so he's calling today on the witnesses of John the Baptist and the miracles and the word of the Father, which by the time of John's Gospel then was very, very evident to the community, the Christian community, because since Easter Sunday evening, Jesus had revealed to them how the scriptures were speaking about him all along. But that took them a long time to get, and it took the community a long time to mature in that. And obviously the very smart leaders had picked it up very fast. Like in the judgment of Jesus, when he said, "You'll see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand," and he tore his garments and he said, "This is blasphemy," because he understood the implications and rejected it downright. And so there you have really the core substance then of the conflict that ends up on Good Friday, involving the Romans and so forth. And then we can think about the fights we have and how things can heat up and how things can get aggravated, and the will to reconcile. And Jesus can't hide his truth as the incarnate Word of God that has to be gradually revealed so people can properly digest it. Big challenge, you know. Well, people, let's leave it like this for today as you continue the pilgrimage of prayer. And if you're on the virtual pilgrimage of prayer, because Kathleen's doing a great job there, eh? I think it's really, really worthwhile. See you later, alligators. God bless you.